Okay. So I'm good. Any public speak? Any public speak? Oh, okay. So, good. Good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order at time of 10:07 a.m. Before we get into the full meeting agenda for the March 19th, 2026 Chicago Plan Commission meeting, I want to quickly provide guidance to those who want to provide testimony on cases presented for public hearing today. A few of you may have already submitted forms electronically, or for anyone else who may wish to testify before the Plan Commission, please fill out the sheets located on the table where you entered the room. Please include your full name, address, and if you are for or against the proposal. And if you are here representing yourself or an organization, please hand your sheets to one of the staff members. People who may have completed forms will be called on after each item is presented. Out of respect for other speakers, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please line up at the microphone behind me and to my left in the order I call your name, and please do not repeat comments that have been made by previous speakers. The public comment portion of the meeting is not a question or answer session of staff or of the applicant, but an opportunity for attendees to voice their opinions on a particular proposal. Out of respect for others, please do not interrupt or disrupt the speakers. Any individual who disrupts the presentation or any subsequent comment session may be asked to leave the council chambers, or if necessary, may be escorted out by security. We will now have a roll call. Commissioner Brumfield is present. Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Castaneda. Commissioner Dow. Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Here.
Commissioner Cicho Lopez. Commissioner Villegas. Oh, did I miss one? Oh. Commissioner Tillman. We now approve the minutes from February 19th, 2026, regularly scheduled. Oh, did I skip you? I sure did. I'm sorry. You're sitting next to me. Commissioner Kadakia.
Here.
That's why I'm the co-chair. We will now approve the minutes from February 19th, 2026, regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting. The minutes were distributed prior to today's hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission held on February 19th, 2026? So moved by Commissioner Pinheiro, seconded by Commissioner Villegas. Yeah. Roll call vote. Commissioner Brumfield is yes. Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Castaneda. Commissioner Dow. Commissioner Kadakia.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman. Commissioner Villegas. Motion passes. As we move on to the public testimony, there is a reminder we will take public comments for the items on the agenda after each item has been presented. If you have not already done so, and you wish to speak on an item, please complete the testimony slip available at the table just outside of the room. Staff members are available to assist if needed and will collect the forms from you. We will now move on to the public hearing presentation portion for matters submitted in accordance with the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance and/or the Chicago Zoning Ordinance. The first item is listed as D-1, a proposed residential business plan development submitted by 1415 North Dayton LLC, 811 West Evergreen LLC, and 821 West Eastman LLC for the property generally located at 1415 North Dayton Street, 821 West Eastman Street, 811 West Evergreen Avenue, and 1415 North Kingsbury Street. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site from C3-5 Commercial Manufacturing and Employment District and B2-5 Neighborhood Mixed Use District to a C2-5 Motor Vehicle Related Commercial District, and then to a residential business plan development. The request is sought to permit the construction of a 311-foot tall residential building at 1415 North Dayton Street with approximately 340 dwelling units and 163 parking spaces. No new commercial space is proposed with this request. The planned development will be split into 4 sub-areas, with the proposed residential building to be in sub-area A. The maximum floor area ratio of the planned development will be 5.0. For each sub-area, it will be broken down as follows: 14.87 for sub-area A, 1.05 for sub-area B, 3.37 for sub-area C, and 4.13 for sub-area D. This is item number 22987, located in the 27th Ward. Omar will provide the context overview and present the proposed plan.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Omar Smailobegovic with the Department of Planning and Development. This proposed development is generally located at 1415 North Dayton Street and is located within the near North Side community area within the 27th Ward. The applicant and their development team appear here today for the purposes of establishing a residential business plan development at the subject site. The applicant proposes the construction of a 28-story residential building with 340 dwelling units and 163 parking spaces. No new commercial space is proposed with this request. The site is located within the near North Side community area, which has a population of approximately 105,000 people and has seen a high rate of population growth in the last 20 years. The site is located within the near North Side community area. The site is located near several arterial roads. It is 1 block west of Halsted Street between North Avenue and Division. This slide shows the site in the context of nearby existing development. This area has gradually transitioned from being predominantly industrial to a variety of residential and commercial uses. The site is considered a transit-served location. It is approximately a quarter mile from the North and Clybourne CTA Red Line station and is served by CTA bus routes 8, 70, and 72. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site from C3-5 Commercial Manufacturing and Employment District and B2-5 Neighborhood Mixed Use District to a C2-5 Motor Vehicle Related Commercial District, and then to a residential business plan development. The proposal would establish several sub-areas within this new plan development. The new residential building being discussed today would be in sub-area A, shown here in red, with white hatching, with no changes proposed to sub-areas B, C, or D. These 3 other sub-areas would be established to facilitate the transfer of density and development rights to sub-area A. The relevant plans adopted by the Plan Commission include the Halsted Triangle Plan, the Neighborhood Design Guidelines, and the Transit-Friendly Development Guide. The Halsted Triangle Plan promotes an increase in mixed-use development in this area and encourages development that promotes multimodal transit use and pedestrian-friendly environments. I will now turn the presentation over to the applicant team to go over the details of their proposal.
Good morning, Commissioners and everyone. For the record, my name is Angela Spadoni with BKL Architecture, and I'll be presenting the design for this site and project. I'm very excited to be here today and talk to you all, so thank you for having us. Very vibrant intersection and neighborhood. I'm sure we're all very familiar with this, but the intersection to downtown along Halsted and also to the lake along North Avenue. You can see our site is just south of North Avenue. We have a lot of public transportation in the neighborhood, so very excited about that as well. So this is just documenting some of those great access to the site that we're looking at today. This is the current site as it stands today. There are 4 existing buildings on the site. Those will be removed, but as you can see, not great street presence right now, not very pedestrian friendly, so we'll talk about how we'll be making improvements to that. This is the existing site plan. The main points I want to point out here that you'll see that differ from our proposed site plan is the streetscape experience. Currently along Dayton, there's a 4-foot wide sidewalk, very tight against perpendicular parking that often kind of goes closer to that sidewalk. And then there is a curb cut on the south that we will talk about along Evergreen. So those are the kind of things to watch for when I show our proposed site plan. This is the aerial view from the northwest with existing and approved plan development projects. Ours is outlined in red. We are 28 stories. You can see that that is similar to other buildings in the neighborhood at multiple at 27 stories, even up to 37 stories approved. The building there is shown as a rendering within the site and context. So you're seeing that there, similar view to the last one. And then before I talk through the plans, I just want to give you a quick snapshot of the overall design. I'll get into the details of the podium and materiality as we continue the presentation, but just as I go through the plans, so you can have a visual of what this building looks like. So talking about the pedestrian context and the massing of this building, we did really want to respect the surrounding context that is existing. So we thought about that podium height and how can that match the adjacent context. Additionally, how can we pull back the floor plate to really allow for more light and air and outdoor spaces, as well as for additional views for the residential units, creating additional corner units and unique architectural features like that. So this is our proposed site plan. Again, I spoke to a couple of things that I wanted you to look at. And again, you'll see, and we'll go into more detail when I get to the landscape portion. We are widening the sidewalk along Dayton to 6 feet and Evergreen, as well as including landscaping. That is the required landscape ordinance. And then you can see our building on the site as well. We worked closely with the Department of Planning to get to the correct form as well as floor plan. That ground floor plan is so important. How are we activating the streets? I know these images are small, but the main thing is that blue is a activation color, gray is mechanical, non-activated. So you can see on the left where we started our DPD intake meeting, we had a lot of mechanical fronting Dayton, and we worked through to move that off the alley to minimize that space and get that activation fully along Dayton and then as much as we could along the south, Evergreen. Additionally, you'll notice that in the original DPD intake, there was a curb cut along Evergreen. That is an existing curb cut. We have worked to get our parking loading to all work off of the alley. So worked really hard on being able to remove that existing curb cut along Evergreen and get all vehicular traffic off of the alley. So zooming into the ground floor plan that we are proceeding with, again, you're seeing that revised parking and landscaping along Dayton, removing the perpendicular, going to the parallel parking, allowing for more pedestrian space on the sidewalk and landscaping, really activating Evergreen and Dayton as the main entrance of this building. That is where the residential lobby will be placed. And then keeping all of our mechanical back of house off the alley. So that will access the 2 loading docks. It will access a few ground level spaces in addition to the rest of the parking stalls on levels 2 through 5. This is the typical parking floor plan. Again, there was 163 parking stalls on levels 2 through 5, very efficient. Additionally, we do have bike parking on 2 through 5 as well. And then on level 6, we have our first level of amenity. So we have amenity and we have a couple residential units on this level, but the building really cuts back again to give that scale of the podium, that pedestrian scale, and relating to the context building on this plan. These are our typical residential levels, 7 through 27, that contain our residential units. And then the upper level amenity at level 28, there will be a pool at the top. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but again, where we pulled back, responding to sunlight and a kind of access on the site. And then the roof plan, where you'll see some of our mechanical happening above that level 28 amenity. These are our 4 building elevations. So the east elevation on the left is actually along the alley. So you'll see that we are continuing the garage expression. We're using a little different materiality, which I will talk to at the materials page, but we're continuing that expression from the south and west elevation. Then you're seeing the south elevation. You'll also see this as a rendering further on in the presentation, but you're seeing how we're connecting the tower down through the podium. The main structural elements are kind of clad and expressed on the exterior and how they come down and interact with the podium to really make it one cohesive building. And I think you'll see some really beautiful details that we were doing at the podium when we get to that perspective view. And then the west elevation along Dayton, I think, again, what we're doing at the parking garage, we're using some perforated metal panel, we're using some metal rods, some really beautiful materials are happening there along with the masonry on the podium. And then the north elevation, specifically to the podium, is against the adjacent building to the north, so that will be more of a CFMF panel, and we will talk about that again when we get to the material sheet. These are the building sections. The light blue is showing that residential repetitive typical floor plate. amenity at the top of the building, like I spoke to, amenity on level 6, and then that amenity and some mechanical parking happening at level 1, and our parking is levels 2 through 5. So just reminding you of the rendering again, the overall building, because we're going to talk a little bit about the details of the facade. Coming in, I think this is a really important view. I think it really speaks to the scale and materiality of the podium and how we imagine pedestrians interacting with this building. So really having a transparent, vibrant, safe ground floor for activity on there, like I talked extensively about. And then levels 2 through 5 are the garage, but we're using some perforated metal panel where the tower is coming down to, again, speak to the tower above and how it's integrating with the podium. Where the tower is not present, you can see more of a punched opening expression for the facade of the podium using masonry, and then also integrating some vertical metal rods. And these will be, kind of this gold rust color that will continue on up into the top of the building as well. So looking at some facade sections, you're seeing the typical tower facade. We're using a glass railing, metal panel, slab edge cover, and then we do have some form projecting metal panels covering the columns. Again, just kind of giving the building a little bit of a vertical expression and breaking down some of the elevations to provide a better sense of scale. And then on the podium on the right, you're seeing the modular brick. It's a dark gray. We'll look at that again, the glass railing. I talked a little bit about the metal screens that are perforated metal as well as metal rods that we'll be using, and then the vision glass along ground floor at the activated spaces. Transportation, traffic, and parking. I think I touched on this a little bit, but I think the main point of this slide is that it's very transit served between the CTA Red Line station and the Halsted bus. In addition, all of the parking is, again, accessed off of the alley. So there are no curb cuts on the site except for that, obviously, the alley curb cut, and then even loading is coming off of that alley. So I think that's the most important thing to note here. And then these are the zoning principles of good urban design. So just kind of, I won't read through every single one, but kind of to summarize what I think we've done is creating the safe and attractive walkways, again, with widening that sidewalk, adding that landscape element, so important there. That talks about that buildings need to be located against the street facade, so we've done that. Breaking down the scale of that podium, leaving that break at that amenity level to really relate to the pedestrian scale at the street. Also, creating seamless and gradual transitions in bulk and scale. So I talked about how the building steps back and steps up, again, pulling away from the street. So I think those are the most important ones I wanted to point out. To get to the open space and landscaping, again, I think the main point here is the rework of the sidewalk. So you're seeing on the existing, the very narrow sidewalk at 4 feet, you're seeing the cars at perpendicular and minimal landscaping at the corner and at Evergreen. And then our proposed, where we're reorienting those parking spaces to be parallel, increasing that sidewalk width to be 6 feet with the landscaping 25 feet on center trees, and then adding some exterior bike racks and then more landscaping along Evergreen. North is up on this plan. I'm going to flip you, so I just want to help you orient yourself. North is now to the right. I want to show this plan because it's showing that we're taking that landscaping and we're extending it. We're extending all the way north to the adjacent property and doing the same parking and widening that sidewalk 6 feet as well to Eastman. These are some of the landscaping character images that our landscape architects provided, just to kind of show the character and what we're kind of thinking and looking at. And then we haven't fully designed the amenity levels yet, but we were asked to provide the types of plants that might be used on the amenity levels. So we have provided that list here. And then I think I had said that I was going to talk to this slide. We really did try to respond to the sun and light in this building design. As you can see on the right, where we pulled back and really allowed for outdoor space for the residents and for the public, happens along the south. And then on that ground floor, just increasing that amount of public space and walkability on the site was so important to us. We also cut back at the building entry to create a little bit more breathing air and experience as you go into the front entrance of the building. Our building materials, I'll start at the podium. We'll have a granite stone space. And then we do have brick masonry for the majority of the podium facade. And then additionally, we're cladding the garage with the perforated metal panel and an additional metal rod screen. Again, I think this is a really interesting element that we've added into the design. We also have done some detailing at the top of the podium to kind of respect the neighborhood and some of the details that you see on the existing buildings. Up in the tower, we're using vision glass and spandrel glass to match vision, as well as metal cladding. So the dark color is coming on the columns, that is the vertical element, and then there's a couple lighter colors that we're using at that slab edge color. You know, the color on the screen never shows exactly right, but it's close enough. And then we're using fiber cement panels along the alley instead of the masonry, and also on the north against the adjacent building. We are going to be in compliance with Method 1 for the Sustainability Development Policy. So we will be hitting this through the all of the points listed on this slide. And then we will also be in compliance with the Stormwater Management Ordinance as well. And then I'll hand it over to Tyler.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Tyler Manick. I'm an attorney with Shane Banks, Kenny and Schwartz. We're at a slide here with a project timeline. We started this project back in April 2025 with a DPD intake meeting to review the concept of this project. From there, we moved on to meeting with Alderman Burnett, who referred us over to the Near North Unity Project to run through their community process. This plan development was filed in February, and that brings us to today's Plan Commission hearing date. And following, if this project does get approved, the tentative schedule here would be to obtain a building permit in fall 2026 with substantial completion of the construction by spring 2028. This slide refers to the community process that this project underwent that I referred to before. We first met with the Near North Unity Programs Advisory Board review in their Land Use Committee, and then engaged in a general community meeting where members of the public were invited to participate in this meeting. The Near North Unity Program did issue the letter of support that is depicted here in this slide. A traffic study was prepared and submitted to CDOT. It was reviewed and approved by CDOT. We do have the traffic consultant, Louis Abuna, to my right here to answer any questions following this presentation. Here is the Affordable Requirements Ordinance compliance that was reviewed and approved by the Department of Housing. This is the unit mix. This slide depicts the AMI breakdown of the ARO units that was reviewed and approved by the Department of Housing. This slide refers to some of the economic and community benefits that this project's going to bring. As you can see by the relevant bullet points, this project's going to be a significant revenue and employment generator for the city. One bullet point that's not referenced in this slide because it came up as of yesterday. The applicant is going to be contributing $45,000 to a traffic signal on Halsted and Scott that's irrespective of our project is being planned for that intersection. It's not anticipated that our project will contribute to the traffic by more than 1%. To this intersection, but nevertheless, we are contributing $45,000 to this. And before turning it back over to Omar to go over the Department of Planning's recommendations, I would like to just thank briefly Omar and Noah from the Department of Planning, Kevin McGinnis from the Department of Transportation, Sam Drew from the Department of Housing, for their assistance throughout this project, as well as Alderman Burnett for his consideration through this project. So with that, I'll turn the slide over to Omar to read off the Department of Planning's recommendations. Oh, and finally, sorry, Omar, I just want to introduce the team that hasn't been introduced yet. Louis Abuna to my right, the traffic consultant, Brad McBride with BKL Architecture, Mike Shanuda, the member and manager of the ownership team, and you met Angela before.
Once again, for the record, Omar Smailobegovic with the Department of Planning and Development. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant, and we have concluded that the proposed development would be appropriate for the following reasons. The project meets the purposes and relevant criteria set forth in Chapter 17-8 of the zoning ordinance, and its adoption would not have any adverse impact on the public's health, safety, or welfare. In particular, the planned development promotes safe and efficient traffic circulation by locating all vehicular access in the alley, maintaining a parking ratio below 50%, and providing adequate bicycle parking. The proposal promotes economically beneficial development patterns that are compatible with the character of the existing neighborhood, and the proposed development is consistent with the Halsted Triangle Plan, Neighborhood Design Guidelines, and Transit-Friendly Development Guide. Furthermore, the project has been reviewed and approved by the Chicago Department of Transportation, the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities, and the Fire Department. Please refer to my staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, it is the recommendation of the zoning administrator of the Department of Planning and Development that this application to establish a residential business plan development be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. There are 3 speakers who have signed in to speak on this item. First is Mike Masellalio. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, which I am. Who is for the proposal. Second is Annette Prince, who is also for the proposal. And third is Butler Adams, who is also for the proposal. If you could please line up in that order.
Good morning. Just want to thank members of the commission and all the staff for putting these meetings together. My name is Mike Masaleo. I'm president of the Chicago and Cook County Building and Construction Trades Council. Just want to speak in favor of this project. We talked to the developer. They are using one of our signatory contractors, which ensures that our members and their families will be provided with good wages and benefits, because of projects like this, and we encourage other projects to do the same. So we ask you to support this project and move it forward. Thank you.
Whoever wants to go first.
I'll just go. For the record, my name is Butler Adams. I did send a letter regarding this project, and I'll just read it real fast. I'm just writing this letter with a lukewarm support for this proposal at 1415 North Dayton. While I'm 100% pro-density and pro-tall towers, I'm a bit underwhelmed by the design, and I'm very disappointed at the loss of architecture from Chicago's industrial past. From a street perspective, perspective, the current aesthetic is much more visually stimulating than what's being proposed. I wish more thought had been put into preserving the facades of the industrial structures and incorporating them into the base of the new building. Architecturally, this is BKL being BKL. The design looks like an architectural merger of other towers they've completed in Chicago, including 369 West Grand and the Dayton at 160 North Morgan, which I supported in this commission in years past. It would also be nice to have some new something new and improved and not repeated. I'd honestly love to see the tower of this project pushed further to the southern half of the project of sub-area A to preserve one of the current industrial structures. This would also allow some more visual space for other properties on the north side of the site. This is taking up roughly half of the block. On the northern half, you have like a 1-story building. If they were to ever go vertical, you have so much kind of compressed right in this area. And I know BKL has done some very, very nice projects in the past. 2 years ago, they did a project that came before this commission. That's at 1565 North Clybourne. And that building has about 50 more units than this, but it's on a site that's roughly 5,000 square feet smaller than this site. So I think that a little bit more thought could be put into this proposal. And just last month, we had a project come before this commission at, 1338 West Lake Street, and they lined the parking base with linear residential units. And here we just have a parking garage. So I would like to see that maybe looked at is there a possibility of hiding the parking base with some linear units? Otherwise, I'm pro-development. I have no problem with this actually being built, but I also love the history of the city, and I hate the old buildings being torn down when they could and should be incorporated into these projects. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Annette Prince, and I am representing Chicago Bird Collision Monitors and the Bird Friendly Chicago, which is a coalition of city bird organizations dedicated to protecting local and migratory birds that travel through Chicago in the millions every spring and fall. We're happy to be in favor of this project, having chosen the bird protection points. We are pleased that this option will be in a critical area where we have documented thousands of birds being killed, as well as a site that is near the Chicago River. So it's very important that a building in this location take on bird protection measures. We see that the bird protection is going to be applied to the ground level as well as the amenity deck level, but wanted to point out that the glass railings throughout the building, and particularly on the top of the building, can be very deadly for rooftop birds, including peregrine falcons, which are the city's mascot bird, many of which are starting to die on these glass railings that are being put up transparently along the edge of the top of buildings. And a lot of our city birds are flying what they think is the rooftop, and there's actually a glass barrier that's harming them. So we feel you additionally could use bird-friendly materials on railings, and particularly the rooftop railings of your building. By electing bird protection credits, you are avoiding the tragedy and the cost of trying to retrofit post-construction. McCormick Place killed 1,000 birds in one morning and then had to spend more than $1 million to make their lakefront building bird-friendly. We encourage you to select bird protection products that are of a threat factor rating below 25. McCormick Place was killing more than 1,000 birds a year, in addition to the 1,000 birds they killed in one morning. And if they had chosen a 30 threat factor rating, for their glass retrofit, that would have reduced their bird strikes 50%, which would mean that McCormick Place would still be killing 500 birds a year. So instead, they chose a product that was more effective and below 25 as a threat factor rating, and now less than 50 birds a year die at McCormick Place from glass strikes at their lakefront building. There are hundreds of choices of products and methods that rate under a 25 threat factor rating, and selecting the lowest rating makes your project's time and expense the most worthwhile, and it will benefit thousands of irreplaceable birds that we both value and need to protect. Please contact myself or any representative at Chicago Bird Collision Monitors or Bird Friendly Chicago if you have questions or need more information. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have one more speaker signed up to speak on this item, Juan Calahora.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, and members of the Chicago Plan Commission. My name is Juan Calajorano, and I'm serve as the Executive Director of Chicago Needles and Construction. I am here today on behalf of our coalition of over 30 qualified, experienced, and highly capable minority-owned contractors and professional services firms who are active contributors to construction industry in Chicago. We're here in support of the plan development application submitted at 1415 North Dayton LLC. As you consider this proposal, I want to emphasize the importance of ensuring that development of this scale create meaningful, measurable opportunities for the diverse firms that represent the fabric of our city. Chicago Needles was founded to advance equity, representation, and access to Latino-owned and minority-owned firms. Our members include general contractors, specialty trades, architects, engineers, project managers, and compliance professionals. These are firms with deep technical expertise, strong safety records, and a proven ability to deliver high-quality work on complex projects across Chicago. What we consistently see is not a lack of capacity, it's a lack of early access. Too often diverse firms learn about opportunities after scopes are already awarded or when timelines are too compressed to participate competitively. That is where intentionally matters. For this development, we strongly encourage the applicants to commit to early and proactive outreach to minority-owned firms, transparent communication of bid packages, scopes, and timelines, direct contracting opportunities, not only subcontractors, inclusion of professional services, not just construction trades, partnership with organizations like UNIDOS to identify firms with the right experience and capacity. Our organization stands ready to support this process. We can help coordinate outreach, host informational sessions, and connect the development team with firms that are fully capable of performing at the highest level. These firms are not emerging, they are established, competitive, and prepared to contribute meaningful to this project. When diverse firms are included early, the results are stronger, better community outcomes, broader economic impact, and a development that reflects the diverse and talent of Chicago's workforce. This is not only good practice, it is good business and good stewardship of the city's growth. On behalf of Chicago News and Construction, the 30 firms I represent, I want to thank the applicants and the commission for the opportunity to speak today. We look forward to continued collaboration to ensure that this development becomes a model for equitable participation and shared economic opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff? Commissioner Turner.
Good morning. I know we, at CDOT, we approved the traffic study and everything. But I do have some questions as far as like, does the traffic study, did it include like Ubers and rideshare drop-offs? Like, has that been considered to kind of include it on the property? Like utilizing some of the parking spaces also for deliveries and everything? Because I know that area is highly congested and I'm more concerned with double parking and everything along Dayton and also Evergreen. So can you respond to that, please?
Good morning. For the record, my name is Louis Abuna. I'm principal with KLOA. Our traffic study does include the drop-off and pickup activities that would be generated by the proposed development. There will be a dedicated zone on Dayton Street in front of the building that would be utilized for the drop-off and pickup activities, in terms of Uber or deliveries and stuff like that. The garage access, like was indicated earlier, would be off the alley. So most of the traffic activity will be contained within the alley, but any drop-off and pickup activities will be within the dedicated zone on Dayton Street.
Okay, I just kind of just want to make sure that we, because I've seen it before where there's a lot of double parkings, stuff like that. So just, going forward, maybe consider having loadings and unloadings for, drop-offs or deliveries come off the alley also to free up the traffic and prevent the congestion.
Sure.
And also prevent, any possible accidents with cars zooming around, parked cars, and create an unsafe environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dow?
And just to follow up on that, is that memorialized in the PD? Is that something that gets memorialized in the PD, Noah?
Commissioner, the number of loading spaces that are required for the building, yes. The location of those loading spaces, yes. The pickup and drop-off activity is something that the building management's going to have to monitor and make sure people are not double parking or shooing them away and making sure the curb lane is managed appropriately.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kadakia?
Good morning. Lovely building, and I really want to commend you for your use of bird glass and your sensitivity around those issues. I wanted to do a follow-up question, though, around Annette's point back there about the higher level birds, especially with that glass railing, which I've looked into it myself and done some research around this. Those are pretty rough on the bird community. Could there be, I know you've already gone, you've met your requirements, but could there be an opportunity to use bird glass at that high level railing just to really hit it with bird protections?
Yes, thank you for the question, Angela Spadoni. The glass railing is actually one of our high-risk features within Zone 1 and will be bird glass as well, with a rating of 15 or less, all of our railings.
Fantastic. Thank you for doing that.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Alderman Burnett, would you like to make a statement on this item?
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you to Peerless Development. They have been a part of this community for a while now, developing in this area, being good stewards. So appreciate the effort here with this tower, both to keep consistent with the industrial character while also building some housing and additional affordable housing that is desperately needed. We know Halsted Street in particular, as we have these reconstruction of our bridges, particularly Halsted in Chicago, it's becoming more of a thoroughfare where there's more density and more walking density. And this is directly adjacent to what is becoming a more vibrant and active community. And so really appreciate the effort here, really appreciate the work with getting community support, both with NNUP, but also with the Near North Industrial Group. As you know, this is a transitioning neighborhood, meaning there are still a ton of industrial properties in the area. And so the commitment to making sure that those businesses have the opportunity to stay or leave at their own free will is extremely important. And their commitment to building up this area with the proper retail that supports live, work, play area, allowing schools and daycares has been extremely important to the development of the area. So I'm sure that will continue with the base of this building, but also with the additional housing and management of the property. So fully supportive, and I ask the commissioners to support as well.
Thank you, Alderman. Do commissioners have any additional questions for staff or of the Alderman? If not, do I have a motion on a proposed residential business plan development submitted by 1415 North Dayton LLC, 811 West Evergreen LLC, and 821 West Eastman LLC for the property generally located at 1415 North Dayton Street, 821 West Eastman Street, 811 West Evergreen, and 1415 North Kingsbury Street, finding that it meets the requirements for the approval.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Kadakia, seconded by Commissioner Dowell. Roll call vote. Commissioner Brumfield, yes. Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Castaneda. Commissioner Dowell. Commissioner Kadakia.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman has recused herself. Commissioner Villegas. Motion passes. Congratulations. Next item is listed as D2, a proposed industrial corridor map amendment submitted by the applicants LG Development Group LLC and 1201 West Kinsey LLC for the property generally located at 1201 West Kinsey Street. The applicants request a rezoning of the subject property from M2-3 to DX-5 to construct a new 5-story residential building with 14 parking spaces and 66 bike parking spaces. The maximum number of dwelling units will be at 66 and the maximum FAR will be at 5.0. This is item 22887-T1, located again in the 27th Ward. James Gwinner will provide the context overview and present the proposed plan. James.
Thank you and good morning. For the record, my name is James Gwinner with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicants, LG Development Group LLC and 1201 West Kinsey LLC, have submitted an application for a proposed industrial corridor map amendment at the property generally located at 1201 West Kinsey Street to rezone the subject property from M2-3 to DX5 to construct a new 5-story, 66-unit residential building with 14 car parking spaces and 66 bike parking spaces. FAR will be 5.0. Subject site is located in the near West Side community area. According to the 2020 census, approximately 66,000 residents live in the area. Existing land uses in the neighborhood include transportation, multifamily, and single-family residential, business, and commercial. Property is located on the south side of West Kinsey Street, being located within approximately 810 feet of the CTA's number 65 bus line stops on Grand Avenue, and approximately 0.6 miles from the CTA Blue Line stops at both Grand Avenue and Chicago Avenue, and 1/2 mile from the Green Line stop at Morgan. The site is located in the 27th Ward, and Alderman Burnett is in attendance today to voice his support for this project. Site is bounded by Metro Property Zoned M2-3 to the east, south, and west, and by PDs and Properties Zone B3-5 to the north. The 5-story, 71-foot building will sit among other residential projects in the area with approved heights between 364 feet and 575 feet. Here are the views of the currently empty site at the corner of West Kinsey Street and north of Racine Street. The site is subject to the Fulton Market Innovation Plan and West Loop Design Guidelines, and the applicant has provided a completed checklist to show compliance with the West Loop Design Guidelines. Now I will turn the presentation over to Scott Borstein, the applicant's attorney, who will further explain the details of the proposal.
Thank you, members of the commission. Scott Borstein from the law offices of Neal and Leroy here on behalf of the development team. You'll see a straightforward and smallish project for this part of the Fulton market, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'm going to quickly turn it over to our project architect, but let me introduce our team. So we've got Gabe LaHoo from LG Development and Justin DeGraw from Dirk Dennison Architects. And then just before we get into it, just want to give a special thanks to the alderman who has been a champion and supporter of the project. Obviously, we could not do it without him, and the planning department for being a good steward and helping us along in this process. So with that, you see the project timeline. We've had significant community engagement, and here we are at the Plan Commission. We do have to go through a special use process after this because the DX5 district does not allow ground floor residential. So we'll have to file a separate special use application and take this before the zoning board. But the hope is that we're finished with the entitlements by the summer and then are starting construction in the fall. With that, I'll turn it over to Justin.
Thanks, Scott. For the record, my name is Justin DeGroff with Dirk Dennison Architects. I'll run you through the project quickly. So as mentioned, our site is bounded by Kinsey Street along the north, Racine on the east, and the Metro tracks to the south. We're proposing to go lot line to lot line. One thing to note while we go through is that there's a 12-foot city right-of-way along the north side of the building between the parkway and the sidewalk. And that's currently kind of an unusable berm, and we're proposing to level that out and landscape that. Zooming in quickly, you can see that we're reusing an existing curb cut along Racine Street for our parking garage, 14 spaces in our bike parking as well. We're activating the front of the building, the pedestrian experience with residential units and the amenity spaces. Moving up the building, it's pretty straightforward. I think the thing to note is that we have these 4 courtyard spaces allowing for additional light and ventilation, as well as landscape views to the east and west from the units as a way of kind of pulling attention away from the metro tracks in the south. And on our roof, we're doing a landscaped rooftop, providing the open space requirement for each of the units. Here on the north elevation, what we're kind of considering the front facade and the entryway to the building, you'll see the residential on the ground floor, as well as the amenity spaces on the corner. Entryway is noted by one of the courtyard cutouts and a change of materiality. The back of the building, or the south side of the building facing the metro tracks, maintains the same facade treatments with kind of stained concrete to match the masonry on the ground floor along the tracks. The west elevation maintaining that same facade with a slight push-in the center of the building to break up the mass. And same with the east elevation, you can see our loading dock. Building section, you can see the parking in the back and the lobby facing the pedestrian experience, and then the courtyards cut in. We move up the building, we talk about the brick facade and the metal panels that are kind of expressing those courtyard cutouts. So here's I think a good overview of the building. You can really start to see those courtyard cutouts breaking down the mass of the building, really making it feel like 3 smaller buildings fitting in with the neighborhood context, which currently across the street is a 2-story masonry building, apartment building. We're putting, and then on the corners, Juliet balconies with a kind of a bronze mesh balcony system. Here's our corner view. You can see that parkway at the city right-of-way is leveled out and part of the pedestrian experience. with the courtyards. Here's our entryway. They're off Kinsey Street. And looking back to the east with the adjacent adjacent existing building there to the left. Entryways, we can see the vehicular access along Racine, reutilizing an existing curb cut, the main pedestrian access points along Kinsey Street. We've provided our traffic study to CDOT, which was approved. So following the urban design guidelines, I think, again, the big things, that we're doing, re-landscaping along the sidewalks there with that city right-of-way, activating the ground floor with residential units and amenity space, and keeping the parking away from the entryway. Open space and landscaping, same thing, activating the facade with landscape, including the elevations, the roof, and the right-of-way. Our material palette is relatively straightforward. We're proposing a green glazed masonry facade with the courtyards accented with an aluminum metal panel that would match our window system and the metal mesh balconies. Sustainability development, we're earning our 100 points required, primarily through the use of basic bird protection, maximum 40% glass, and reducing energy consumption by 5%. We understand the requirements that we need to meet for the stormwater management compliance, and will be doing so. Outlining our affordable requirements, and this has all been approved and reviewed. Our further breakdowns, our economic and community benefits. And I'm going to turn it back over to James for the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, for the record, my name is James Quinner with the Department of Planning and Development. Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that the proposal would be appropriate for the following reasons. The proposal will not adversely affect the continued industrial viability of Kinsey Corridor overlay. Proposed use is consistent with the other developments in the area and is compatible with the other developments adjacent to the site. The requested DX5 zoning is compatible with the surrounding zoning districts. Rezoning will not adversely affect the continued industrial viability of the area. Please refer to my staff report for further details on this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, the zoning administrator recommends that the application for the establishment of the plan development zoning map amendment be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. Thank you.
Thank you, James. We do have one person signed up to speak on this item, Mr. Butler Adams, who is for the proposal. Mr. Adams.
Yes, for the record, my name is Butler Adams. I am in favor of this proposal. I pretty much have spoken in favor of everything in Fulton Market, so why stop now? Also, I saw the name Dirk Dennison on the thing, and he was my professor at IIT, so I wanted to kind of come full circle on that. He was great. He took us to Arizona, and I learned a lot from him, so I want to pay it forward. And it's not often you see green glazed brick in buildings these days. You see it from the 1920s and 30s, and that's kind of what this project reminds me of. I'd love to see that. Not everything has to be tall, but everything should be nice. And I think this is a nice project. The only thing that I would say is I think you need to add a little bit more greenery to your roof. That's about it. Otherwise, I like the project. Thanks. And tell Dirk I said hello.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any questions of the staff? Commissioner Turner.
Good afternoon or good morning. Same question I had before as far as like the loading and unloading of Ubers and also like deliveries. Has it been considered like to keep it on property, like in the garage area, designate some spots or anything for that to keep it off the street to reduce congestion in the area?
Yes, in the loading area, we have a designated loading space within the turnaround there along adjacent to the bike room. for designated loading and moving.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? If not, Alderman Burnett, would you like to speak on this item?
Thank you. Appreciate this project. There was a long and extensive community process with this one. For the record, there were joint meetings between the neighbors of River West and the West Central Association, representing the in-between phase of both neighborhoods, West Central primarily covering the West Loop, neighbors of River West obviously covering River West, to which this property sits kind of in between the two. And as noted previously on the last project, where Halsted is changing, this portion of Fulton Market is changing as well. This Fulton Market North area is becoming its own neighborhood. It's where a lot of the housing density is starting to sit, where plenty of projects on the other side of the train tracks have been recognized as approved through Planning Commission and have higher unit counts in much larger scale projects. I feel like this project sits very well in between the two, making that gap or that bridge between high density housing to what is on the other side of Hubbard, more traditional townhome and residential environment. This is a nice in between. And so the community process was extensive, talking about what does this mean for the broader neighborhood, mostly centered around what does it mean for the parking in the area. But as this is one of the projects that represent what a TOD should be, transit-oriented development that is not utilizing as much parking as we require because there's so much accessibility to public transportation, both to the north and the south of this project. And so the concerns from the community around parking isn't my largest concern. And when two community groups were split, one supportive being the West Central Association and one not being neighbors of River West, we tend to go for the actual development and making sure that we have more housing being built here. Again, this project has significant amount of 2 and 3 bedrooms, hovering around the 30% mark. We obviously, as indicated in previous discussions with this Planning Commission, want more family style units, and we had a conversation about this. And it's exciting to see that this project, the 3 and 4 bedrooms that are part of this project are affordable housing units, which is extremely helpful for this area that needs more space for families. So I appreciate the developers for listening to that concern and working with our Department of Housing to make sure that our families have ability to reside in this growing Fulton Market community. So I am supportive, and I ask the commissioners to support as well.
Thank you, Alderman. Do the commissioners have any additional questions of the applicant, staff, or of the alderman? If no, do I have a motion on a proposed industrial corridor map amendment submitted by the applicants LG Development Group LLC and 1201 West Kinsey LLC for the property generally located at 1201 West Kinsey Street, finding that it meets the requirements for approval? Do I have a motion? So moved by Commissioner Pinheiro, seconded by,
Second.
I'll go with Tillman this time.
Okay.
Roll call vote. Commissioner Brumfield, yes. Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Castaneda. Commissioner Dow. Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman. Motion passes. Congratulations. Oh, Commissioner, you were sandwiched in between these two. Commissioner Kadakia,
Yeah.
for the record, yes.
Yeah.
Next item is listed as D3, a proposed amendment to institutional plan development number 443 submitted by the University of Chicago for the properties generally located at 5725 South Woodlawn Avenue and 1100 East 55th Street. The applicant proposes to rezone and incorporate these two sites into plan development number 43 as amended. The property at 5725 South Woodlawn Avenue, currently zoned RM-5 Residential Multi-Unit District, will be rezoned and added to Subarea O of the plan development number 43 as amended. The property at 1100 East 55th Street, currently zoned institutional plan development number 763, will be rezoned and added as the new sub-area P of Plan Development Number 43 as amended. This is item number 23003, located in the 5th Ward. Yang Di Wang will provide the context overview and present the proposed plan.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, my name is Yang Di Wang from the Department of Planning and Development. This proposed development is generally located at 5725 South Woodlawn Avenue and 1100 East 55th Street and is located within the Hyde Park community area within the 5th Ward. The applicant, University of Chicago, and their development team appear here today to propose an amendment to Plan Development Number 43 for the subject site. University of Chicago is seeking an amendment to Institutional Plan Development Number 43 to add properties that is recently acquired at 1100 East 55th Street and 5725 South Woodlawn Avenue. 5725 South Woodlawn Avenue is currently zoned RM5 and will be rezoned and added to Separate O of PD number 43. 1100 East 55th Street is currently zoned PD number 763 and will be rezoned and added as a new Separate P to Planned Development number 43. Other minor cleanup changes to the PD statements and the bunk table are proposed as part of the amendment to PD number 43, including PD statements add allowed uses for new Separate P consistent with uses permitted in PD number 763. Bunk table updated to add Separate P to eliminate site coverage column and to update all other data calculations to reflect current conditions and newly added properties. No new construction or site improvements are proposed at this time. The proposed development is located in the Hyde Park community area, which has an estimated population of 29,591 and a median age of 30.6. Planned Development Number 43 was originally adopted in 1966. The University of Chicago campus spans from north of 55th Street to 61st Street and from Cottage Grove Avenue to its easternmost boundary at Stony Island Avenue. Surrounding land uses include parks, residential areas, and institutional facilities. I'll now turn the presentation over to the applicant team to present the details of the proposed amendment.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Kate Duncan. I'm an attorney with Quarles and Brady LLP in Chicago and representing the University of Chicago in connection with this proposed Plan Development Amendment application for Institutional Plan Development Number 43. Here this morning on behalf of the applicant with me is Sarah Sheehan, who is the Executive Director of Government Relations for the university. Okay, so the map in front of you now depicts the boundaries of Institutional Plan Development Number 43, and you can see highlighted in red the two properties that are being added to the PD. The first property is commonly known as 1100 East 55th Street. It is currently zoned PD number 763, and this will be added to the PD 43 as a new subarea. We're going to call that subarea P. The second property is commonly known as 5725 South Woodlawn Avenue, and that will be added to the existing subarea O. This is a closer look at the new subarea P, which is located on the north side of East 55th Street between University Avenue and Greenwood Avenue. The property is commonly known as 1100 East 55th Street. The property contains the former Lutheran School of Theology and McCormick Theological Seminary buildings. The university recently acquired this property and is seeking to consolidate this property within its plan development boundaries. The McCormick Seminary building does have some university staff occupying it currently. However, the Lutheran School of Theology buildings are currently vacant. No changes or modifications to any of the buildings are proposed at this time. The university is still considering appropriate institutional and university uses for this property, and this amendment is really only for the purpose of adding the property within to the boundaries of its plan development. Again, no proposed construction or modifications to the buildings are proposed. The current zoning for this property is PD number 763, which allows colleges and universities as a permitted use. We have updated the PD statements for PD number 43 to include this new subarea P. And the uses in the new subarea P are consistent with the uses that were permitted in PD number 763. We've also included a new sentence in the PD statements for PD 43 regarding height restrictions within subarea P. We've added a height maximum in subarea P so that it's consistent with the existing PD number 763, which allows a maximum height of 65 feet. The PD number 43 bulk table has also been updated to include subarea P, and all data is consistent with the site area and maximum FAR included in PD number 763. In other words, we've added the property, now identified it as subarea P, but we've kept all existing regulations from PD number 763, including bulk and density and height and uses, et cetera, in this new subarea P. These are just a few context photos for the existing PD number 763, the 1100 East 55th Street. Again, no changes are proposed at this time. Purpose of this amendment is only to add it into the boundaries of PD number 43. This is a closer look at the 5725 South Woodlawn Avenue, which is located on the east side of Woodlawn Avenue within the existing subarea O of the PD number 43. The property is currently zoned RM5 and it's nestled between other residential and institutional uses along Woodlawn Avenue. The university recently acquired this property and is seeking to consolidate this property within its planned development boundaries. The property is currently vacant and no changes or modifications to the existing building are proposed at this time. The university is still considering appropriate uses for this property, and this amendment again is only to add it to the boundaries of the PD. No construction or modifications to the buildings are proposed. The university intends to add this property to its subarea O Woodlawn plan, which is a plan that comes out of PD number 43. The Woodlawn plan identifies character-defining features of buildings on Woodlawn Avenue and requires review and approval of Historic Preservation Division as part of any building permit review. So once this property at 5725 South Woodlawn is added into the plan development boundaries and the university has identified a user, the university will host a community meeting as outlined in the subarea O Woodlawn Avenue plan. These are just a few context photos of the existing 5725 South Woodlawn. No changes are proposed. The purpose of this amendment is only to add it to the boundaries. It should be noted the previous owner dedicated a preservation easement on the property to Landmarks Illinois, covering the west, south, and north elevations, as well as wall elements, multiple roof lines, and other aspects of the building. That preservation easement will remain in place, and so this property will remain subject to that preservation easement. In connection with this PD amendment, prior to filing the application, the university has engaged with adjacent neighbors and interested parties to let them know of the plans to file the application, including the scope and context of the application to add these two properties into the boundaries. The university also communicated the minor changes to the PD statements and that minor changes to the PD statements would be needed in order to add subarea P. Further, the university let neighbors know that the PD amendment would include an updated bulk table which eliminated site coverage, the site coverage column, and that all other data calculations within the bulk table would be updated to reflect current conditions, including the newly added properties. Applicant also met with Alderman Yancey to discuss the scope of the PD amendment prior to filing the application for the amendment. We then filed the PD application on February 18th, and afterwards, the university had additional follow-up discussions with the aldermen and neighbors and other community stakeholders during the remainder of February and throughout March. And that leads us to today's Plan Commission hearing. And with that, I would like to say thank you very much to the staff at DPD, including Yang Di Wang and Noah Safranek, who have been terrific to work with on this matter. As I mentioned, the university has been in contact with Alderman Yancey, who has provided a letter of support. So on behalf of the applicant, we respectfully request your favorable recommendation of approval of the proposed plan development amendment for this property. And our team is here ready to answer any questions. And I will turn it back to Ms. Yang to conclude. Thank you.
For the record again, my name is Yang Di Wang with the Department of Planning and Development. DPD has reviewed the proposal submitted by the applicant and has concluded that the proposed amendment to planned development number 43 would be appropriate for the following reasons. The proposed amendment complies with the planned development standards and guidelines. The proposed amendment is compatible with the character of the surrounding area. Public infrastructure facilities and city services will continue to be adequate to serve the development. An email from Alderman Yancy indicating support for this development is on file. Please refer to my staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, it's a recommendation of the zoning administrator of DPD that this proposed amendment to planned development number 43 be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. DPD staff and representatives from the applicant team are here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Yandi. Do the commissioners have any questions of the staff? Please.
Yandi, maybe,
Yeah.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Yandi, maybe you can help me understand this. I think, so there's a couple of parcels of land that are going to be added to PD 43. Can you help me understand what's the scope of PD 43?
Okay, the scope of PD 40, actually, this is the perfect slide to have up because this shows the entire PD's boundaries. So, and I think Youngdi went through that a minute ago. Do you have the? Oh, you go back a couple. I think we listed out the boundaries maybe. Here, that last one. One more back. Okay, so it spans from just north of 55th Street all the way down to 61st Street. And then from Cottage Grove on the west, all the way over to Stony Island on the east, with some sort of like carve outs in between.
Yeah.
So PD 43 is a very large plan development. And these two parcels are just parcels that are sort of adjacent or sort of embedded within PD 43. And so now that the university has acquired those parcels, they're seeking to incorporate them into the boundaries of their PD.
So this is basically, PD 43 is basically either the entirety or a large portion of the campus of the university.
Yes, exactly.
And you're
It's the
just
campus of the
adding,
University
you're
of
just
Chicago.
adding
Yes,
parcels that
sorry.
you have acquired recently.
Correct.
Thank you. Very much.
Commissioner Kadakia.
Hi. This is a super cool building, by the way. So it's really sleek. I love the look of it. And the university has, like, the architecture there is really pretty impressive overall. But I wanted to ask a couple of questions. Can we flip to the land use plan? Also, there were two land use plans that it appeared to be, they were labeled as alternate, but I didn't really see differences between them. Not this one, sorry, though. The one with the landscape?
We don't have a landscape plan because no construction.
I'm confused. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind, never mind.
Okay.
Uh,
This is the site context plan.
okay. Give me a second,
Okay,
actually. If
no
anybody else
problem.
has any questions, let's come back for a second. Yeah.
Any other questions from the commissioners? And I believe, Yang, you did mention that there was a support letter from Alderman Yancey? Correct? If there's no other questions from the commissioners, do I have a motion on a proposed amendment to institutional plan development number 43 submitted by the University of Chicago for the properties generally located at 5725 South Woodlawn Avenue and 1100 East 55th Street, that finding that it meets the requirements for your approval? Do I have a motion? So moved by Commissioner Tillman, seconded by
I'll second.
Commissioner Pinheiro. Roll call vote. Commissioner Brumfield, yes. Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Castaneda. Commissioner Kadakia.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item today is listed as D-4, courtesy presentation for proposed site plan approval in sub-area A of PD number 1599, submitted by the applicant Advocate Health and Hospitals Corporation, DBA Advocate Trinity Hospital for the property generally located at 8,000 South DuSable Lakeshore Drive. The applicant seeks to construct a 5-story, 183,000 square foot hospital located in the 7th Ward. James Gwinner will provide context overview and present the proposed plan.
Again, for the record, my name is James Gwinner with the Department of Planning and Development. As part of the site plan approval process required as part of PD 1599, which was approved by the Chicago Plan Commission in November of 2024, the applicant, Advocate Health and Hospitals Corporation, appears here today to provide a courtesy presentation of their site plan submittal for Subarea A of PD 1599. The applicant proposes to construct a new 5-story, 183,000 square foot, 52-bed hospital with support and administrative rooms and on-site parking on the 23-acre parcel of Subarea A. The subject site is located in the South Chicago community area. Existing land uses in the neighborhood include transportation, multifamily and single-family residential, business and commercial, and institutional uses. Once a thriving community, the closure of the U.S. Steel Southworks plant in 1992 led to a long period of economic disinvestment in the area, together with the PsiQuantum facility that was previously approved for Subarea F of PD 1599. The Advocate New Trinity Hospital represents the first economic development on the site in over 3 decades. Now I'll turn the presentation over to Carol Stubblefield, the applicant's attorney, who will further explain the details of the proposal.
Thank you, James. Good morning, members of the commission. Carol Stubblefield with Neil and Leroy. Office is located at 20 South Clark, here on behalf of the applicant, Advocate Trinity Hospital. With me today to present the project is Dr. Michelle Blakely, President of Advocate Healthcare, and Todd Eichen, Principal Architect with Canon Design. Additional team members for the Advocate Care Development Team include Brook Architecture, Site Design, Erickson Engineering, and of course, Related Midwest, the current owner of the property. As Jay mentioned, this is a matter for site plan review and approval for the new Trinity Hospital to be located in Subarea A of Plan Development 1599. This project complies with all bulk density and uses in PD 1599. And Advocate has worked extensively with the Department of Planning and Development, Alderman Mitchell, and committee, or rather a Department of Zoning on the project. The plans that we're presenting here today have been reviewed and discussed with the various interagencies, including CDOT, CTA, Bureau of Fire, MOPD, Stormwater, and Sustainability. We'd like to thank Alderman Mitchell and the Department of Planning and Development and the various agencies for their work and collaboration on this project. I'll now turn the presentation over to Dr. Blakely to provide some background and brief overview of the new hospital.
Good morning. Again, for the record, Michelle Blakely, President of Advocate Trinity Hospital and the Southside Transformation Initiative. Really excited to talk about our proposal and to gain your support. What you have reflected in front of you is the project timeline, and what you will see from this is much of the work has been done. We are at the point now where we have engaged with the community, and we'll talk about that. We've been in front of this group, and you see all that timeline. We had our Alderman review on the March the 3rd, and we've had tremendous support from the community and for the Alderman and his partnership in this work. And the next step is this piece, and then we're ready to put shovels in the ground and be able to move forward. I want to talk a little bit about the project and really share with you our excitement around this space. This is the first hospital that is being built on the south side of Chicago in over 100 years. And I punctuate that point. We have been very intentional in addressing what is a life expectancy gap on the south side of Chicago of 30 years. And we, through an initiative in working with our community, engaging in multiple conversations around that life expectancy gap, partner with our community to come up with a solution for how we could address and really mitigate what is health disparities in that community. And we believe that our plan, which includes the building of a hospital, helps to solve for that. And so it's our intention that we're going to bridge that gap and do that together with the community. This is a transformative project, a transformative initiative that we are doing in partnership with others in the community to really make a difference in a space where healthcare has been a little bit underrepresented. Looking for the right word to say there. So very robust plan. We're very excited about that. I'd like to talk a little bit about our community involvement and the way that we got to the design. So we had an extensive community outreach strategy, engaging with communities in focus groups and a number of interactions throughout the community to understand from the community's perspective, how do we solve a bridge for designing and creating a space for health and healing? And what you see reflected here is the input from those conversations. We have added community gardens to our plan based on input from the community to ensure that our campus not only treats and takes care and creates health and wellness, but also helps to engage the community in a very proactive way. We've also added respite spaces. We want the community, we're creating an absolute community as opposed to simply a hospital, so that we're bringing the community into the space by including respite spaces and walking trails and other things that become attractive to the way that the community engages with the hospital and helps us further our intention to create health and wellness. We also are working with local artists and bringing consultants in so that our interior spaces are designed in part by bringing the community into the space. We want to very much represent a hospital that feels like it is part and parcel to the people who live and work there and who will thrive and have health in that space. I'll turn it over to Todd. We'll take it from here.
For the record, my name is Todd Eichen, architect with Canon Design. We are the design firm for the project. Thank you. As you can see on the slide, we are at the northwest corner, far northwest corner of the old U.S. Steel site, PD 1599. Across the Lakeshore Drive from Rainbow Beach Park, you can see the lakefront. To our west is the residential neighborhood. The 79th Street corridor is just to our northwest as well. Just additional context, very traditional Chicago neighborhood to our west. Just more of the streetscape in the area. Besides the PD, we've also paid attention, of course, to any other guidelines and requirements that come into effect on this property. I won't read the entire list, but it's extensive, and we do feel like we are very much in sync with what the community needs are, what the community wants. Pedestrian orientation, you'll see more of that on the site plan when we bring it up, but we've paid attention to that factor as well. And that came through the community involvement, as Dr. Blakely mentioned. So we've done our best to coordinate through that. This is the site plan. We have colored site plans in a minute that are a little more easy to read, but just to highlight a couple of things. So the attractiveness of this site for Advocate is there's many aspects, but the 23 acres for the first phase, and then there's a second parcel, which is another 4 acres. That's hard to come by in the city, and it's really the size of property that supports best planning for hospitals. And we'll see some more of that in the site as well. And then there's access to 2 existing signalized intersections along Lakeshore Drive. So that was also a very attractive part of the site. This is a little easier to read with the colored diagram, but you can see the main access to the hospital will be at the intersection of Lakeshore Drive and Farragut Avenue. Farragut, if you go north on Farragut, that leads up to Rainbow Beach Park. Then there's a secondary access to the south at an intersection that was built as part of Lakeshore Drive extension at it aligns with 81st Street. There is not an 81st Street at this point, but we have access to that intersection as well. Transportation, traffic, parking. We've taken into account all of the city requirements. Our traffic engineers prepared traffic studies and traffic demand analysis, et cetera. Again, with the pedestrian access. It is a large site, but one of the features, you can see the kind of a curvy sidewalk on the plan that leads up to the northwest corner of the site. That gets us to a place where we do have good access for pedestrians onto the site and onto that network of pathways and whatnot that Dr. Blakely mentioned in her remarks. Again, we've done a full traffic study, traffic demand analysis. It's been reviewed with CDOT and incorporates their comments as well. We actually have two different landscape plans in the slide deck here today. If you look to the west side of the site, you'll see there's a kind of a thickness of trees along there. Those are all existing trees that our preference is to keep, if at all possible. But because the site is subject to IEPA requirements and IEPA review, we're not quite sure yet if they're going to allow us to keep those trees because of some of the requirements of capping the site with new soil and whatnot, which would kill trees. So our alternate plan would be, if we have to get rid of those trees, we will replace trees along Brandon Avenue. And that's our buffer between the hospital property and the adjacent residential. Of course, we are adhering to other landscape ordinances that ask us to shield parking from the street, those sorts of things. This is our ground floor plan. That's where our public space is in the building. Public space, including community space that's accessible to the community. I'll skip through the rest of the floor plans. The upper two floors, level 4 and 5, that's where the patient rooms are. And you'll see in a minute in our elevations and our section drawings of the building, why we raised the patient floors as high as we could, because we have great views, right? We've got the lake across the street. We've got the skyline to the north that you can see, and then we actually have good city views to the south as well. The building is 5 stories tall, 2 floors of what are diagnostic and treatment, typical hospital space. The middle floor, the 3rd floor, is a mechanical floor. And then the 4th and 5th floors are the inpatient rooms. So we put that mechanical floor in the middle, again, to raise those patient rooms up as high as possible to take advantage of our great views. We'll see the building materials later on in the presentation, but it's basically a glass curtain wall with bird-friendly glass, metal panels, and precast concrete. This is one of the building sections that illustrates what I just spoke about. The mechanical floor there in the middle, and then the patient floors above. Skip through these more sections. This is kind of the general massing of the building. It's a lower sort of plinth at the first couple of floors, and then the bed tower, if you will, above it for the upper 3 floors. Get to the better stuff. This is the north side, the front entry side of our building. Again, metal panels, the glass. There's some multicolor metal panels. It's very in keeping with our lakefront site, with the choice of colors and materials on the building. We do, as I mentioned, have the bird-friendly glass for the entire height of the building on all sides. So we're cladding the building in, and it is with the appropriate threat factor, and helps us to meet the enhanced bird-friendly requirement from the city. This view would be if you were driving into the site, for example, and coming in to the front of the building. Just another aerial view again from the northeast, looking back towards the hospital. I mentioned that we had a sidewalk that connects the hospital to the corner of Brandon and Lakeshore Drive, and close to that 79th Street intersection as well. So there is a path. You don't have to take the street and then down the driveway. You could, but we have this additional, and that really came out of some of the coordination with the planning department and the request to give as much pedestrian access to the hospital as possible. If you were coming along Lakeshore Drive, traveling north, kind of around our curve there, you do see the building in this orientation. here are the building materials I mentioned. So the glass on the upper left of the slide there, that's that dot pattern is what makes it bird-friendly glass. And then the rest of the materials there, is the metal panels that are on the front of the building and on the back of the building have a little bit of a color changing quality to them. And again, that's partially for the lakeshore site that we have. It was very reflective of the site context. And then also contributing to when one looks at the bird-friendly aspect, it's not just the glass, it's the combination of materials on the building that we're trying to achieve there. Sustainable development policy, of course, we meet that. We are getting our 100 points through LEED Gold. This hospital will be, it's an all-electric hospital. So therefore, no natural gas will be used in the building. It will be one of the very few all-electric hospitals in the country when it opens. And we think it'll be the first one in Illinois for sure as well. And then besides the LEED Gold, we get more points for that bird-friendly approach. There's more of that. That's just more on the bird-friendly. Stormwater, of course, we've coordinated with the city departments and are following their guidelines. At the far south east corner of our site, we do have a site detention area, and it'll be a detention. It won't hold water. It'll just temporarily detain the water. And what we've chosen to do is plant that area with some of the native plantings and grasses and create a walkway, and it's a respite area. It'll become a respite area for patients. It's right outside the emergency department door where you often see, those patients and families who need to maybe take a minute and give them a space to do that outdoors, not just indoors. Economic and community benefits, Advocate and their contractors are working hard and have done a lot of coordination and outreach with the various trade organizations and to make sure that we are meeting and exceeding any guidelines that are out there. And there's a very specific emphasis on hiring from the local community, Ward 7 in particular. So that's an ongoing effort. And then, as Dr. Blakely mentioned, the community impacts of this project are just enormous. It's kind of unparalleled probably. And I think maybe it wasn't mentioned, but 1,000 new jobs on the south side as part of the overall initiative the Advocate has undertaken. That's a significant statistic. And that's what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, for the record, my name is James Gwinner with the Department of Planning and Development. Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant as required as part of the site plan approval process for sub-area A of PD 1599. And the applicant, Advocate Health and Hospitals Corporation, has provided this courtesy presentation of their site plan submittal for your further review and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Do commissioners have any questions of the staff or of the applicant? Commissioner Pinheiro.
So I do have a couple of questions. Exciting project. Really great to see this moving forward. But as it relates to traffic around it, if you're on Brandon Avenue, for example, or on the southern edge of the property, how do you get in? Do you have access through the south or western end of the property, or that wasn't possible?
Back to the property, the south boundary of our property does not have access to any existing streets or anything. So we only have the two access. Brandon Avenue is one way north, right, today, and so they come out to Lakeshore Drive and basically have a right turn on Lakeshore Drive. They would have to go either north or south to get around to the hospital today.
Okay.
The streets there are no other streets there today.
Mm.
And then, as I mentioned, our south entry into the site, which is really a service entry and ambulances
Yeah.
for this project, we're going to take advantage of that existing signalized intersection at the southeast corner of our property.
So that's it, where it says, it's labeled, I'm looking at page 20, where it's labeled main entrance, that's a traffic light?
That is an existing traffic light, and as part of the traffic study that Erickson Engineers has done in coordination with CDOT, there will be improvements to the intersection that we make, both with the signalizing and the turn lanes and walk signals and whatnot. So that's all. part
Yeah,
of
I
the project.
imagine that people coming north on Lakeshore Drive, we have to make it very easy for people.
There'll be improvements to the left turn lanes for people.
Left
coming in.
turn, okay. Okay, thank you. How many beds in the hospital, inpatient beds?
52. It's a combination of medical surgical beds, intensive care beds, and some observation beds.
So it's a tertiary care facility, is a acute care?
It's a community hospital, and so there are, excuse my voice, there are 36 med-surg beds, 4 ICU beds, 8 beds for observation, and then 4 beds for dialysis. So not tertiary care. Tertiary care currently for Advocate is through our Christ Hospital, and that's our current condition as well. So
Understood.
we are maintaining the same level of status that we have with the current Trinity Hospital.
Thank you, Dr. Blakely. Exciting project, and I wish you the best. It's great to see this being developed in that area.
Commissioner Turner.
Good morning. Could you go back to the site plan? I just got a question about that strip of land just south of your development. I just want to know, is there any, I know it's outside your development. I just want to know what is the planned use of it?
The narrow strip?
Yes.
That is what we have called partial B in our application. And Advocate is purchasing that property as well for future purposes, and it comes down, the south end of that strip is at the assumed right of way if an 81st Street extension. ever
Okay, so
happens.
that's going to be part of your development afterwards,
Yeah,
or
it's-
eventually?
Both the west side of the property and that strip would be for any future development that might occur, but it is Advocate's
Okay.
property, or will be. their
All right,
property.
thank you.
Alderman Mitchell, would you like to make a statement in this matter?
Right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Good morning. It's still morning, correct? Allow me the opportunity to speak. As you guys can see by the photos and everything, this is a great project. It's a great project on the surface. But let's dig a little bit deeper into the impact that a project like this is going to have to the southeast side. If you didn't know, I'm born and raised over there. Been there all my life. Only time I left is to go to college and came back. And to be the alderman of this ward has been both frustrating and challenging. But when the corner turns and we have an opportunity to do a project like this that has the potential to be extremely transformative to an area where the corridors that butt up against not just the hospital on 79th Street and 83rd Street, but also 75th, 95th, and 87th. It gives life to the area. And it now changes the whole trajectory of the southeast side. The amount of attention that we're getting from investors, the amount of pride that people are now showing just because we've shown them a project that is coming. It is a compliment to ongoing efforts like on 79th Street and Exchange. We have the first phase of a housing project called Thrive Exchange that is finishing up, which is going to be literally throwing distance from this area. And everybody knows to the south, of the U.S. exciting the south of the U.S. exciting the south of this project, we have the IQMP campus. The southeast side is now looking like the technology and health hub of the Midwest. And we're going to do everything in our power to take advantage of that from a catalytic standpoint. The housing that has stood vacant is now, we have plans. And thank you for working with me, Commissioner, both Housing Commissioner and Department of Planning Commissioner. The sky's the limit now. It's a source of pride to the community and to myself now. And Advocate couldn't have been a better partner. And President Blakely, she's just been great to work with. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to let everybody know that the Southeast Side is staging a comeback now. And again, because I've been there all my life, it's in my opinion, it's way overdue. And it's a pleasure to see that somebody else values my neighborhood just like I do and the residents do. And this site has stood vacant for over 30 years. And now we have this type of catalytic investment. I think it's 300 million. Yeah, 300 million. Yeah. And it was stated earlier that there's a big push, I call it a mandate, to ensure that the people from the neighborhood have an opportunity to participate in the in the development of the neighborhood. We all stood the storm of the decline. We should be able to participate in the growth. And I saw some numbers. We see 26 and 6, that's the floor, 7.5% from the area, that is the floor. And we're going to work really, really hard to ensure that the laborers that's already there, the union guys that's already there, the underemployed, the unemployed, all have an opportunity to participate in the growth of the community. Because again, we stood the storm for the last 30 years. So I look forward to continuing my work with this. Okay, everybody that's been involved and approved it on the way, thank you. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you all at the end of the project in 2028, 2029. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mitchell. Unless there's any other comments from my fellow commissioners, I'd like to just make a statement. And just as someone who worked 20 years on this site, master planning this site for nearly 2 years with the city and also with McCaffrey Interest when they were controlling the development. And to your point, Alderman Mitchell, it's been a long time since we've seen any real momentum that's going not only here on USX Steel site, and we're all proud of the huge commitment here that's going on with Site Quantum, but we know there's more to the story here. And Dr. Blakely, I think your comments cannot be stressed anymore, that this is the first, correct me if I'm wrong, the first hospital that's been built on the South Side in a century. There's more to the story here that's going on here at the former USX Steel site. And the idea of this much needed community asset that's coming to the neighborhood, coming to the South Side, coming to your ward, for me, it's just beautiful to see that there's now real momentum that's going on in the north side of the USX Steel site. So I just commend you for your commitment and for the excellent work that you're going to be doing in the future here for the community. So thank you. I do have one speaker. Aha, you snuck this in. Yes. My apologies. There is one speaker who would like to speak on this matter, Juan Calahorra, who's for the proposal.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good morning once again, Chair, Commissioners, and members of the Chicago Plan Commission, Alderman Mitchell. My name is Juan Calahorrano, Executive Director of Chicago Needles and Construction, an organization representing experienced and highly capable minority-owned contractors and professional service firms in Chicago. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today regarding the proposed site plan presentation for the Advocate New Trinity Hospital South Area A, located in the 7th Ward. Chicago Needles and Construction is proud to express strong support for this project and to commend Advocate Health and Hospitals for its commitment to investing $1 billion in 10 years in the city of Chicago. This investment will strengthen healthcare, bring vital resources to the South Side, and create meaningful economic opportunities for local residents and businesses. Also, I want to acknowledge the Power Construction, Ujamaa Construction team, as well as the Office of 7th Ward Alderman Mitchell, for their ongoing efforts in the early phases of the Trinity Hospital project. The team has engaged contractors, hosting outreach sessions and opening communication channels to ensure that our firms understand upcoming opportunities. These actions demonstrate a sincere commitment to building an inclusive project team and reflect the type of leadership needed to deliver a project of this importance. As the project and projects within its investment progress, we encourage the owner development team to continue expanding these efforts. Our organization represents firms with deep experience in healthcare, institutional, and public sector construction. The capacity is here, the talent is here, and the commitment to excellence is here. What is needed is continued access to intentional inclusion. We emphasize 3 priorities that will help ensure meaningful participation. First one being early outreach to minority-owned constructors so they have the time and information needed to prepare competitive proposals. Clear communication of bid packages, the scopes, and timeliness to maximize participation, and direct contracting opportunities for qualified and experienced minority-owned firms across both trades and professional services. Advocates investment has the potential to deliver not only a state-of-the-art healthcare facility, but also a model for equitable economic development in the 7th Ward and surrounding areas. By continuing to engage early, communicate openly, and partner with organizations like Chicago Needles and Construction, the team can help ensure that the benefits of this investment are shared broadly and fairly. On behalf of Chicago Needles and Construction, I express our support for the Advocate New Trinity Hospital Sub-Area A and our commitment to working collaboratively to help make this an inclusive and community-centered success in upcoming development projects. Thank you for your time and for your continued dedication to building a stronger, more equitable Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, do the commissioners have any additional questions for your staff or the applicant? Again, this was a courtesy presentation, so no vote is required on this item. And with that, this does conclude this month's meeting for the Chicago Plan Commission. Do I have a motion to adjourn? I almost feel like I have to say the entire list of the commissioners here. So moved by Commissioner Tillman, seconded by Commissioner Turner. Roll call vote. Commissioner Brumfield, yes. Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Castaneda. Commissioner Kadakia. Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner Pinheiro.
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman. This does conclude today's Plan Commission. Oh, I'm sorry. Cynthia Lopez, yes. For the record, this Plan Commission is now adjourned at time of 11:55 a.m.
It's new.